All right, so are you ready to break down this game?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
The one at Memorial Stadium with the crazy streak.
Yeah.
Buckle up because we're diving deep into Nebraska's overtime loss to Illinois.
Oh, man, this one was tough.
And trust me, this one's got layers.
It really does.
It's not just about the final score. We're going to uncover why this one stings a little extra for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Beyond the overtime heartbreak and what it reveals about both teams moving forward.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Friday night primetime matchup.
Huge.
The Huskers are at home, ranked 22nd in the nation,
Yep.
undefeated.
Right.
The place is absolutely buzzing, 400th straight sellout at Memorial Stadium.
Right.
That's not just a streak, it's practically woven into the fabric of the state.
It's incredible.
But they end up losing a heartbreaker in overtime to Illinois. The 24th ranked Fighting Illini.
That's right. And that's where the context gets really interesting. Imagine the weight of that legacy. 400 straight sellouts. That's generations of fans showing up week after week, year after year.
I can't even imagine.
It's incredible, but it also creates a pressure cooker for Nebraska.
No kidding.
Oh,
So let's talk about the game itself for a while there. It felt like Nebraska was in control.
they had some good moments.
Their freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola, had a heck of a game, almost 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
Right. He really showed some poise out there,
He did.
especially for a freshman.
Yeah, and he seemed to have a real connection with transfer Isaiah Nayor,
For sure.
who caught 2 of those touchdowns.
Yeah, big-time player.
Speaking of Nayor, how about that overturned touchdown?
Oh, man, don't get me started.
He makes the catch.
Re-
Everyone's going wild. It's ruled a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then, bam, overturned after review.
Such a tough break.
You could practically feel the air go out of the stadium.
Oh, absolutely. You could just feel the momentum shift.
Talk about a momentum swing. That's the kind of play that can really get in a team's head, especially a young team like Nebraska.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what if that touchdown had stood? Would it have changed the whole trajectory of the game?
Oh, absolutely. It's those what-ifs that drive you crazy as a fan. But hey, it wasn't all bad for the Husker offense. Dante Dowdle was a beast in the run game.
He was a workhorse.
Just grinding out yards, finishing with 72 on the night.
Yeah, he ran hard.
He did.
But even with Dowdell's efforts, Nebraska only managed 86 total rushing yards in regulation.
Yeah, and let's be honest, those 3 sacks on Raiola in overtime talk about a punch to the gut.
Brutal. That's an area where Illinois really exposed a weakness in Nebraska's offensive line.
Yes.
A weakness that ended up costing them the game.
Yeah, those sacks were backbreakers. Okay, so the offense had its ups and downs. How about that Blackshirts defense? There were flashes of brilliance,
There were.
but also some head-scratching mistakes.
Yeah, it was a mixed bag for sure. You had those 2 forced fumbles, big-time plays by John Bullock and Sierra Wright. Those are momentum-shifting plays for sure.
Yes, sir.
But here's the thing. Illinois wasn't phased. They stuck to their game plan,
Interesting.
and it paid off. Illinois' ground game was something else.
It really was.
Like a metronome, just steady and relentless, just wearing down that Nebraska defense.
Yeah, it was like they couldn't get a handle on it.
And what impressed me is they stuck with it. Even when they faced setbacks, you know, those turnovers, those penalties, they just kept pounding away.
They did, and it obviously paid off. And speaking of sticking with the run, we have to talk about that play. Kaden Feagin, remember that name because you're going to be hearing it a lot.
Oh, yeah, he's a star.
Rips off a 21-yard touchdown run in overtime dagger.
Game over right there.
It was like the Husker defense just couldn't get off the field.
They were exhausted. By that point in the game, Illinois had just completely worn them down. It was a gutsy call, too, to go for it on that play.
It really was.
But it paid off. And Feagin, what a run.
Incredible. And, you know, we got to talk about those penalties, too. 9 penalties for 89 yards against Nebraska.
Oof, that hurts.
You're not going to win many games like that, especially these close, hard-fought battles. It seemed like every time the Huskers got a little momentum, a yellow flag would fly.
Yeah, penalties can be backbreakers, especially in a tight game.
Yeah.
Like, it just kills your momentum.
So you've got this back-and-forth slugfest, neither team giving an inch.
A real nail-biter.
And then overtime hits, and unfortunately for Nebraska fans, it's like their worst nightmare comes to life.
Again.
Right? Because this wasn't just any overtime loss. This was Nebraska's 8th straight overtime loss, going all the way back to 2014.
You've got to be kidding me.
I know, it's unbelievable.
8 in a row. That's got to be weighing heavily on everyone.
Oh, I'm sure it is. The players, the coaches, even the fans. I can't even imagine the frustration.
Yeah, you start to think, is it mental? Is it the play calling? At some point, you have to break through.
It's like a broken record and not the good kind. So you've got this game with the historical weight of the sellout streak, the excitement of a primetime matchup, and these huge momentum swings, the overturned touchdown, The Illinois ground game just wearing down the clock, those back-breaking sacks and penalties, and it all culminates in another agonizing overtime loss for Nebraska.
It was a tough one to swallow for sure.
It really was, and I think this game was a microcosm of where these two teams are at right now. Illinois showed they're the real deal.
They did.
With a powerful run game, a stingy defense, and a coaching staff that isn't afraid to make bold calls.
Yeah, they're not afraid to take risks, and it's paying off.
They just seem to have that quiet confidence.
Yeah.
They don't get rattled easily.
Exactly. And that can go a long way, especially in a conference as tough as the Big Ten.
But what about Nebraska? They've got a talented young quarterback, some explosive playmakers, that Blackshirts' legacy on defense.
They do.
But they just can't seem to put it all together when it matters most.
Yeah, you said it. They've got the potential. But at a certain point, you have to execute,
Yeah.
especially in those crucial moments.
For sure.
Those close losses, those overtime heartbreakers, those can really start to wear on a team.
No doubt. And especially a young team like Nebraska.
Exactly. They're still trying to find their identity, and those tough losses can really shake your confidence.
Absolutely. And let's be real. They've got a real uphill battle now. They've got Purdue on the road next week.
That's a tough one.
And the Boilermakers are no pushovers. That's
Wow.
a tough place to play.
No doubt about it. This next game is going to be huge for Nebraska. It's a real gut check. Can they bounce back from this loss? Can they learn from their mistakes and come out stronger?
Right. Or does it spiral?
Exactly. That's what they've got to prove they can avoid.
So if you're a Nebraska fan right now, what are you thinking?
Right.
Is this a team that can turn things around, or are you starting to get that sinking feeling?
It's like, is this going to be another one of those seasons?
Exactly. And on the flip side, for Illinois fans, what a win. Huge win.
Yeah.
For a team that a lot of people probably wrote off
They did.
going into the season. And to go on the road and beat a ranked opponent like that, that's a statement win.
It really is. This game had it all. Momentum swings, highlight reel, plays controversial calls, and then that nail-biting overtime finish.
Yeah, it was a classic.
It was. And you know what? That's why we love college football, right?
Absolutely. It's
Right.
unpredictable. It's emotional. It's the best.
And it keeps us coming back for more.
Week after week. So as you gear up for another exciting week of college football, here's something to ponder. What if just one play had gone differently in that Nebraska-Illinois game?
Oh, man. Don't even get me started.
That overturned touchdown, one of those sacks in overtime, maybe even one of those costly penalties could have been a completely different story.
It's crazy how one play here or there can make all the difference.
It really is. That's football for you.
That's why they play the games.
That's why we watch.